the Bone Collector. In the heart of the Cursed Campground, where the trees grow tall and twisted, and the shadows seem to whisper dark secrets, a group of adventurous friends set up camp. They had heard the legends of the strange and terrifying happenings that plagued the area, but their curiosity and thirst for adventure had led them to ignore the warnings. Little did they know, they had entered the hunting grounds of the Bone Collector. Deep within a hidden cavern, the Bone Collector had amassed a macabre collection, human bones arranged in grotesque displays, each one telling a chilling story. As the campers settled in, the Bone Collector watched from the shadows, his twisted mind already planning his next grisly masterpiece. The first night, as the campers huddled around the campfire, they heard strange rustling in the woods. They brushed it off as the whine of perhaps a small animal, but the unsettling feeling of being watched persisted. As they drifted off to sleep, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond the edge of the firelight. The next day, as they explored the surrounding woods, they stumbled upon the hidden entrance to the Bone Collector's cavern inside. They found a horrifying sight. The walls were lined with human bones, skulls grinning down at them from the darkness, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. Terror gripped their hearts as they realized that they were not alone in the Cursed Campground. Frantically, they searched for a way out of the cavern, their panic growing with each chilling discovery. The bones seemed to mock them, a silent testament to the fate that awaited them. As they stumbled through the darkness, a cold, cruel voice echoed through the cavern, the Bone Collector's sinister laughter sending shivers down their spines. "You found my collection," he whispered, his voice as cold as the grave. "But you're not leaving. You'll become a part of it." The campers knew they had no choice but to face the Bone Collector. Armed with makeshift weapons and fueled by terror, they tracked him through the dark recesses of the Cursed Campground. They knew that they had to stop him, that they were fighting not only for their own lives but for the souls of those who had already fallen victim to his twisted obsession. As they closed in on the Bone Collector, they discovered that he was more than just a man. He was a malevolent force, a twisted embodiment of the darkest human desires. He taunted them, daring them to challenge him. As he added to his collection, each new bone a symbol of his power. The battle that followed was brutal and bloody, as the campers fought with everything they had to defeat the Bone Collector. They attacked with a ferocity born of desperation, knowing that if they failed, their bones would join the others in the cavern. Finally, with one last, desperate blow, they vanquished the Bone Collector. His twisted form crumpled to the ground, and the campers knew they had succeeded. The nightmare was over, and the souls of the Bone Collector's victims could finally rest in peace. As they left the Cursed Campground, the friends vowed never to speak of the horrors they had witnessed, the memory of the Bone Collector forever etched into their minds. But they knew that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, and they carried with them the knowledge that even in the darkest of places, there is always hope. The Cursed Counselor. The Cursed Campground had always been a place of mystery and fear, its dark history a magnet for thrill seekers and ghost hunters alike. This summer, however, was different. A new counselor had arrived, a charismatic and enigmatic man who went by the name of Mr. Cross. Soon, as he set foot on the campground, strange events began to unfold, and a palpable sense of dread settled over the camp. The campers soon noticed that their fellow counselors were acting out of character. Once cheerful and supportive, they had become sullen and withdrawn, as if under the influence of some unseen force. Whispers spread through the camp like wildfire, with the campers suspecting that Mr. Cross had brought a terrible curse with him. Determined to uncover the truth, a group of brave campers decided to investigate the mysterious events surrounding Mr. Cross. They began to dig into his past, hoping to find a clue that would explain the sudden change in their counselors. What they discovered was far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. Mr. Cross was no ordinary counselor. He was the unwitting host of a malevolent supernatural force, a vengeful spirit that had latched onto him and used him as a conduit to inflict its dark influence on the camp. The spirit fed on the fears and insecurities of its victims, manipulating them like puppets in a twisted game of cat and mouse. As the campers scrambled to find a way to stop the spirit and save their counselors, they found themselves drawn into its deadly game. They knew they were up against a force they could not comprehend. The days turned into weeks, and the campers grew increasingly desperate. The spirit had grown strong, its influence reaching every corner of the campground. Time was running out, and they knew they had to act fast if they were to save their friends. In a last-ditch effort, the campers devised a plan to confront the spirit directly, hoping to force it out of Mr. Cross's body and into the open. They knew the risks were immense, but they had no other choice. As they gathered around Mr. Cross, they began to recite an ancient incantation, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance against the darkness. The spirit fought back, its rage manifesting as a torrent of wind and shadows that threatened to tear the camp apart. But the campers held their ground, their courage and determination shining like a beacon in the darkness. As the incantation reached its crescendo, the spirit let out a blood-curdling scream and was ripped from Mr. Cross's body, vanishing into the night. Exhausted and shaken, the campers knew they had won. The curse had been broken, and the spirit vanished from the cursed campground. Their fellow counselors, freed from the spirit's influence, returned to their normal selves, grateful to the brave campers who had saved them from a terrible fate. As the summer drew to a close, the campers left the cursed campground, their hearts filled with relief and triumph. They knew they had faced a supernatural force beyond their comprehension and emerged victorious, a testament to the power of courage and friendship in the face of unimaginable darkness. But deep within the shadows of the campground, the spirit waited, biding its time until it could once again sow chaos and fear. The Phantom Camper. The cursed campground, shrouded in darkness, cast a foreboding shadow over the surrounding landscape. A group of thrill-seeking friends had chosen to spend their weekend there, drawn by the chilling stories and the lure of the unknown. As they pitched their tents and huddled around the campfire, they were completely unprepared for the arrival of the Phantom Camper. As night fell, a mysterious figure approached their campsite, her face obscured by a hood. She asked if she could join them by the fire. The campers, always open to meeting new people, welcomed her with smiles, unaware of the darkness she carried with her. The Phantom Camper began to spin tales of tragedy and horror, stories of campers who had met gruesome ends within the very campground they now occupied. With each chilling tale, the fire seemed to burn low, casting ominous shadows across their faces. The campers huddled closer together, the hairs on the backs of their necks standing on end. One by one, the campers retired to their tents, haunted by the tales the Phantom Camper had shared. As they tried to find sleep, the wind howled through the trees, as if whispering a sinister warning. When the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the campers emerged from their tents only to find that one of their friends had vanished. Only an empty tent and scattered belongings remained. Panic began to set in as more campers disappeared each night. Desperate for answers, the remaining friends confronted the Phantom Camper, demanding to know who she was and what she wanted. The mysterious woman stared at them from beneath her hood, her eyes dark and unfathomable. "I am merely a messenger," she replied cryptically. "I cannot control the darkness that resides here." As night fell once more, the remaining campers decided to stay awake, hoping to catch a glimpse of the force that was taking their friends. They huddled together around the campfire, their eyes darting between the shadows that danced in the darkness. Hours passed, and the campers began to nod off, exhaustion overpowering their fear. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream tore through the night, jolting them awake. One of their friends had been taken, snatched away right before their eyes. The remaining few were more determined than ever to discover the true identity of the Phantom Camper and put an end to the nightmare that had gripped the cursed campground. As the sun began to set on their final night, the campers followed the Phantom Camper to a secluded spot within the woods. There she revealed her true identity, the restless spirit of a woman who had been brutally murdered at the campground decades ago. Her spirit had returned to warn the living of the evil that still lurked within the forest, claiming victims as it had once claimed her. With a mixture of relief and sadness, the campers vowed to help the Phantom Camper put an end to the darkness that haunted the cursed campground. Together, they searched for the source of the evil and with her guidance performed a ritual to banish it from the land. The next morning, the campers packed up their belongings and prepared to leave the cursed campground. Their friends still missing, but their mission complete. As they said their goodbyes to the Phantom Camper, her spirit shimmered and faded, finally finding peace. The campers left the campground with heavy hearts, forever changed by their The shadow of Lake Terror. The late summer sun beat down on the cursed campground as a group of friends arrived for a weekend getaway. Unbeknownst to them, the seemingly idyllic Lake Terror held a dark secret beneath its shimmering surface. Eager to escape the heat, The campers raced toward the water, laughing and splashing, unaware of the ancient evil they were about to disturb. As they swam and played, the campers stirred the depths of the lake, unknowingly awakening a monstrous creature that had slumbered for centuries, unseen and undetected. The beast lurked in the murky waters, watching and waiting. As night fell, the campers huddled around the campfire, their laughter echoing through the trees. The stars above reflected off the still surface of the lake, providing no hint of the terror that was about to be unleashed. As the fire crackled and the campers shared stories, a shadowy figure emerged from the depths of the lake, its eyes glowing with an insatiable hunger. One by one, the campers were drawn to the water's edge, lured by an irresistible force they could neither see nor understand. The creature, sensing their presence, attacked swiftly and mercilessly, dragging its victims beneath the dark waters, their screams lost to the depths of Lake Terror. The remaining campers, horrified by the inexplicable disappearances, banded together, determined to confront the unknown horror and save their friends. Equipped with makeshift weapons and guided by a primal instinct to survive, they ventured into the black water, their hearts pounding with dread. The creature, sensing their approach, stirred in the darkness, preparing to strike. As the campers swam deeper into the lake, they could feel the presence of the ancient evil surrounding them, its malevolent intent palpable with every stroke. The water grew colder and darker, the pressure of the depths threatening to crush them. Suddenly, the monstrous creature burst forth from the darkness, its massive form a grotesque amalgamation of twisted limbs and gnashing teeth. The campers fought valiantly, their fear giving way to adrenaline-fueled determination. They dodged its snapping jaws and lashed out with their makeshift weapons, each strike bringing them closer to victory. As the battle raged, the campers discovered that the creature was vulnerable to light, its flesh sizzling and smoking when exposed to the beams of their flashlights. They focused their efforts on driving the creature back toward the surface, the darkness of the depths slowly giving way to the faint glow of moonlight above. With one final desperate surge, the campers forced the creature into the shallows, where the moon's pale light pierced its hideous form. The beast writhed in agony, its monstrous body disintegrating beneath the relentless assault of the lunar rays. As the sun rose over Cursed Campground, the remaining campers emerged from the waters of Lake Terror, battered and bruised but alive. They mourned their lost friends, knowing that their sacrifice had not been in vain. The ancient evil that had haunted the depths of the lake was gone. The nightmare at Lake Terror finally at an end. Yet, as they packed up their belongings and prepared to leave the campground, they couldn't shake the feeling that the Cursed Campground still held secrets, the whispers of the trees and the shadows on the water hinting at horrors yet undiscovered. The whispering trees. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an airy glow over Cursed Campground. John, a seasoned camper, had always been drawn to the unknown, so when he heard about the mysterious legends surrounding the place, he couldn't resist spending a weekend there with his friends. As they gathered around the campfire, they traded ghost stories and shared nervous laughter, unaware of the sinister forces that were about to be unleashed. As the darkness settled around them, the trees began to whisper at first. The campers dismissed the rustling leaves as the wind playing tricks on their ears, but soon the whispers grew louder, more insistent. One by one, the campers felt an irresistible urge to follow the voices, leaving the safety of their campfire behind. They ventured deeper into the forest, their eyes struggling to adjust to the moonlit shadows. The trees seemed too close in around them, their gnarled branches reaching out like bony fingers. After what felt like hours, the campers stumbled upon a clearing where a long-forgotten graveyard lay. The tombstones were cracked and weathered, their inscriptions illegible, and the earth beneath them seemed to shift and heave as if restless spirits stirred beneath the surface. As the campers explored the graveyard, a cold wind blew through the clearing, carrying with it the tormented cries of the souls buried there. With dawning horror, the campers realized that the spirits were not at rest, and that they had been lured to the graveyard for a purpose. Their hearts pounded in their chests as the ground began to tremble, and one by one, skeletal hands clawed their way out of the earth. The spirits of the long dead emerged from their graves, their hollow eyes blazing with fury. They accused the campers of disturbing their eternal slumber and demanded retribution. Panicking, the campers tried to flee, but the vengeful spirits were relentless, and they found themselves surrounded. As John stood trembling among his friends, he remembered a legend he had heard about the Cursed Campground. It was said that the spirits of the buried could be appeased with an offering, a symbol of peace and respect. Desperate, he tore a silver locket from around his neck, a cherished family heirloom, and placed it on the nearest tombstone. The spirits pause, their ghastly faces flickering with curiosity. They examined the locket, and a sudden calm fell over the graveyard. The whispers ceased and the spirits began to vanish, their skeletal hands retreating back into the earth. The campers breathed a collective sigh of relief, realizing that they had narrowly escaped the wrath of the restless dead. With shaking legs, they made their way back to the campsite, further changed by their encounter with the whispering trees. They left the Cursed Campground at first light, their haunted eyes betraying the knowledge of the terrifying secrets hidden within the forest. The trees, now silent, stood sentinel over the graves, their whispers temporarily silenced, but always waiting for the next unwitting soul to enter their domain.